I'm a trauma-informed and certified personal strategy coach, as well as a trainer in Neuro-linguistic Programming or NLP. You'll find me on www.intentionalcoaching.online. Today is as good a day as any for us to conclude the three-part series. The links to the other two videos and the description below this video. But we are concluding this series today, and we're talking today once more about hypnotic language patterns, how these same patterns can also rebound within ourselves and impact our state and our ability to be resourceful, to be aligned, to be ourselves, our authentic selves. And the past two videos, we would have touched upon topics such as the power of metaphors in order to help us leverage our senses within us in order to connect with beautiful, powerful, meaningful symbols that connect us with our empowered higher selves in less than a second. And in fact, I dare say faster than the speed of thought. Leveraging vagueness when it comes to getting people motivated or inspired to follow leadership that you may exercise, perhaps at work or at home while parenting, etc. But guess what? Like everything in this world, while we have resourceful uses for these patterns, we also have unresourceful moments where these patterns can be used to work against others, which is something that is highly unethical and unacceptable. The society that we're creating, where we're trying to make sure everyone is thriving and operating from their most resourceful states and from their most authentic selves. It's also unresourceful in that rebound within oneself that I'd mentioned earlier, where our belief systems that often operate beneath our conscious awareness, our belief systems might hold these unresourceful versions of hypnotic patterns in their wording, in the way they're framed, the way they're formulated, and might be holding us back or limiting us in our quest to be thriving rather than surviving, in our quest to be intentional rather and active rather than reactive and vulnerable. This topic comes to mind when I flip through this book that I have in front of me. This is a wonderful read for people who want to unpack the structure and impact of trauma on themselves. It's a wonderful book called Complex PTSD: From Surviving to Thriving by author Pete Walker. And, it's among a lot of wonderful books that I've been through in recent times that, connect me with situations that can happen in people's lives. A lot of these situations involve inner dialogue, or, the voice that speaks to us from within, and which we're often not consciously paying attention to. It may be very unconscious, and it might still positively or negatively impact who we are at any point in time, how we are, why we do the things we do, and, whether we are limited by what it says or what it makes us feel, or whether we are set free and empowered and able to take risks and, leverage the universe and make it work for us rather than us be subject to it instead. One of the little subtitles in this book that caught my eye was, for example, is The Critic. And here the author, Pete Walker, is talking about the inner critic. His term, which refers to those times where that voice within us, which we listen to, some of that voice can sometimes, perhaps due to tough experiences in life, for example, in childhood, during our education, at work, but those times where we are overly influenced by very heavy-handed authority figures, these kind of things can shape our inner world and our inner narrative. our belief systems, and that voice, which affects us so profoundly. And, if we were to unpack these voices or beliefs that might happen within us and apply these and decode them with the hypnotic language pattern model that we've been exploring so far, a lot can emerge that gives us room to challenge these unresourceful beliefs, to reframe them, to examine them from a different perspective, and to expand our awareness of what makes us tick or what may also hold us back. And with that expanded awareness, you'll find that new opportunities emerge where none might have existed earlier. You'll discover new facets to yourself that are powerful, that are new, that are creative, that are exciting. And you get to evolve and enjoy that journey to your next level, right? Under this paragraph about the critic, and this would be on page 198 of this edition, I see a series of bumper sticker-like sayings, and these sayings catch my eye because they echo the unresourceful beliefs that many of us might hold within us due to life experiences. And it's a pretty comprehensive list of examples of these unresourceful beliefs. And perhaps we can look at them in today's video and see if we can decode the hypnotic language patterns in them using this Milton model and NLP, and see if by decoding it, after laying the statement on the table, we can reframe or challenge it or look at it from a different angle, and perhaps examine through these examples how we can set ourselves free and move forward in life, and from stuck, get into a flow state instead. So I'm going to read out these statements, and we'll sit with them for a few seconds and notice how they are capable of limiting or impacting someone negatively or unresourcefully. And then we can quickly check what we can do to decode those hypnotic patterns and make them more resourceful for us instead. So here we go. Don't trust anyone. Proud to be a loner. You can only depend on yourself. Lovers always leave you. Kids will break your heart. Only fools let on what they really think. Give them an inch and they'll take a mile. These are, Pete Walker goes on to describe these examples as titles of video themes survivors of traumatic experiences may develop in their quest for feeling safe. Now, don't trust anyone, proud to be a loner. We can see immediately how unresourceful, limiting, and negatively impactful these statements can be on one's awareness of self, and how they're capable of drawing one's attention to danger and risk, and disconnecting one from their own, from trust in themselves, trust in the world. We can see immediately why these are unresourceful. And yet it's perfectly normal for all of us to create these defensive beliefs within ourselves, because at the end of the day, if we were to look at the positive intention of these belief systems, it's really nothing more than our brain trying to protect us from danger in this world. In primitive times, this would have been our ancestors. Back then, they would have lived in darkness, in the wilderness, surrounded by predators. Being abandoned in those days would have spelled death for them. Our neurology is a product of evolution from those times in our distant past, and that neurology still exists today. However, today our lives, by and large, are a lot safer than those of our ancestors. More often than not, we're not surrounded by predators that are out to get us. We do exist in communities. There are resources and opportunities available. The circuitry of fear and avoidance, very often, while it has the positive intention of preserving us in the face of perceived danger, it can also very often work against our ability to benefit from taking risks and, achieving balance between risk taking and safety. Can cut us off from our sense of power and agency. And it can keep us in survival mode, restrict us to survival mode, and prevent us from thriving, evolving, growing, and being intentional. So we can pick a few of these examples and see how we can identify patterns that might work in our subconscious and keep us in that hypnotized state of avoidance or fear. We can take this example, for instance, don't trust anyone. There's so many patterns that exist in this statement. It sounds very imperative. It's a statement, and it's a blanket statement. Don't trust anyone. Over here, it sounds like a command. This was uttered to us as a command to keep us safe and to make us more avoidant of risks and dangers in the world. But today, one is an adult, right? One is capable of protecting oneself. One has skills and capabilities and strengths that would not have existed back then. So this can be a limiting statement today. Notice the vagueness in the statement. I had mentioned vagueness in the first video of the series as something that can attach itself to our unconscious mind and bypass our conscious in thinking. What happens with the unconscious mind is it has this ability to puppeteer us without our higher decision-making abilities having a say in that puppeteering. And since our unconscious mind is where our preservation instincts live, these when it takes over our reactivity, our decisions, etc., at that deep level, where we can't really challenge ourselves or second guess ourselves, that's when you'll find yourself veering away from opportunities, veering away from resourceful risk-taking, or perhaps connections with people that could expand your world and expand your learning and allow you to grow. You'll find yourself being puppeteered away from those chances in life to reach your next level. And that's the limiting quality of the vagueness in the statement. Now, why do I say vagueness? Don't trust anyone. Who is anyone? What does that mean? It's such a vague word, the word anyone. It prevents you from being specific in the way you approach other people. It's such a vague reference to a human being who's not even defined with traits, with distinct characteristics. It's a kind of word that can have you trust no human being, which is a terrible way to live if you think about it. Don't trust any human being is the more specific version of this negative, unresourceful bumper sticker. Don't trust anyone. When you lay it on the table and you see the vagueness in the wording of anyone, you see the imperative command embodied in the words, and notice that the vagueness continues with not specifying what you're talking about when you talk about trust. There's no specificity about the word trust. Are you saying that you shouldn't trust anyone at work? Are you saying you shouldn't trust anyone with love? Does anyone include you? Does this statement restrict you from even trusting yourself? The moment you see the vagueness in the statement, the moment you see the tonality of the statement, you will start, as you lay it on the table and sort of dissect it and examine its structuring and the way a phrasing like this might communicate itself to your unconscious mind, your logical mind's going to catch up with you and get you to question this statement. And hence the hypnotic grip of the statement over you gets broken, which is why with this video, I'm really encouraging you to try and just look within yourself and identify statements like this that might be hovering around in your unconscious. And once you find it, once you're able to guess at its existence or sense it, that's where writing it down becomes so useful. Just put it down in words. Try and make sure the words are simple, clear, and direct. And it'll be your body that lets you know when you have it right there in its entirety. Listen to your body while you do this exercise, because your body is going to communicate with you wordlessly through sensations about whether you have narrowed down that unresourceful belief within you that is limiting you and holding you back and confusing you with its vagueness and with its tonality. So this is what comes up when I look at this example of a negative or unresourceful belief statement that affects you beneath your conscious awareness. There's another one here in this list of examples. Proud to be a loner. Under the Milton model in NLP, to me, this comes up as an example of what I'll call a complex equivalence. A complex equivalence is when we take one thing and declare it as an equal of another thing. And it's not really mathematical, because when we equate one thing to another in the form of a hypnotic pattern called complex equivalence, the way the statement is formed gives it the air of being factual. But when you analyze the statement objectively by setting it aside and looking at the way it's formulated, you'll realize, when you start looking at it with your conscious awareness and with your intellectual self, it doesn't really make sense. A is not really equal to B, even though the formulation of the statement gives you the impression that A means B. And this is an example of that. Proud to be a loner. If you look at the statement objectively, it equates being proud with being a loner. Now, being proud, it sounds like something one would want to connect to it. We do have that saying, pride goes before a fall, but we're not talking about pride as an arrogance. We're talking about proud as in self-esteem. Because if you read the statement at the surface, proud to be a loner, it seems to be a declaration that comes from a place of self-esteem and feeling good about yourself. It actually has the vague air of a positive statement. But so you have the state of being proud or being connected to your self-esteem, being equated to being a loner. Now, this statement is also involving a simple deletion. For example, is being a loner the only way to connect with the state of being proud of yourself? Can one not be proud while being, surrounded by others, by being connected with others? Can one not feel proud while being in an intimate and friendly and warm relationship with another human being? To be a loner is therefore a wonderful example of how a statement of complex equivalence, when framed as such beneath your conscious awareness, can limit you from connecting with your state of pride in situations that don't involve being alone. And if we continue to unpeel the statement, more facets of the misleading or incomplete nature of a belief like this will emerge. And this is another example of something that you can, work out on paper in your spare time in order to understand more about how these statements can affect you at a subliminal or subconscious level. Um, and you'll find these patterns of vagueness, of that declarative quality, the mimicry of something being what we would consider factual, and the limiting, avoidant aspect. All these statements have an avoidant quality to them. Lovers always leave you. Kids will break your heart. If you look at all these statements, while they're designed to protect you or keep you safe from perceived pain or threat, these are actually statements that seem to encourage one to avoid people, to dread children, to avoid love, to only fools let on what they think, to prevent yourself from trusting others and forming meaningful connections in life. Give them an inch and they'll take a mile. That's another statement that makes you perceive the world as one that is dangerous and unfair and out to get you. And so that is why, and when it comes to inner dialogue, when it comes to that inner critic, the Milton model of hypnotic language patterns is a wonderful tool with which one can connect and understand better how what we say to ourselves when we are not paying attention to to those moments, to what we're saying, how it has the power to shift you at the level of your neurology, at the level of your body, at the level of your state, and how it can literally rewrite your story. And while one needs to, if one really wants to deep dive into this, it pays to ensure that you're doing this with a trained professional, with someone who perhaps in therapy, where your beliefs can be examined with the help of an expert, and in coaching conversations with a trusted coach who's trained and who's ethical. Very often beliefs emerge in those conversations as well, and that and there'll be moments where you consciously get to confront an unresourceful belief that might have been lurking within the shadows of your subconscious. And once it emerges to your conscious awareness, the sudden shift in the way you look at a situation can happen in less than a second, which is why this tool can be so powerful and so meaningful for you. You will come across other opportunities of noticing how you feel when you notice that you use should a lot. And when you use the word should, you'll notice that I should do this, I should do that. If that's a word that comes up a lot when you talk about your life or yourself, catch yourself and notice the effect the word should might have on your state. Is it a state that is less energized than you want it to be? Is it a state that is blocking you from your ability to connect with energy and intentionality? Replace the should with a would or a could, and notice what happens when I restate that sentiment or that statement or the declaration with a new word, by simply shifting from necessity to possibility or intentionality, right? Should sounds like this word that limits you to the state of necessity and the stress that comes with it. You replace should with would, and you connect with intentionality. You replace should with could, and you connect with possibility. Which of the states seem more resourceful for you, especially when it comes to getting things done in your day, or challenging yourself, or doing something new and beyond your comfort zone? We've looked at complex equivalence. We've looked at the magical transformational power of metaphors. We've looked at what it's like to replace one word in a belief and move it from a necessity to a possibility to intentionality. On this note, I leave you to explore further how you can identify any beliefs that might float up to your conscious awareness as you start to introspect and examine within you what can be resourcefully reframed by identifying these kind of patterns in them, and see what's possible, see what comes up, see what can energize you and change your state and allow you to connect with your more aligned intentional self. So this is me signing off, and I look forward to meeting you in my next upload on this channel. Please do like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel by hitting the little gray bell icon below. And see you all again soon. Take care. Bye bye.